Hello, I'm Dennis with Wildwood TV Lift Furniture. Today we're going to do an assembly video showing how to put together one of the TV lift beds with the captain's bed. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is from the mechanism box that you will have received, I have actually opened that and found the hardware. Now there are three types of hardware. There's hardware that has some spacers for attaching the TV, which I'm going to go through and give you some pointers on attaching the TV. And then there's another one that has an Allen wrench and some 45 millimeter connectors, and that's what I'm looking for right now, just to put the actual captain's bed to the headboard and footboard. So these are just kind of a furniture connector, 45 millimeters long. And then the other one we're going to use in a few minutes just has some smaller 5/8 inch Phillips screws and some wood screws. I'm going to set that one aside. That's also for doing the for attaching the TV lift portion of this video. So for right now, I've just opened the box and I found the 45 millimeter connector bolts. The first thing I want to do is help you get the captain's bed portion oriented. So the captain's bed obviously has the big drawers in it, but some of our captain's bed have a panel that will be doesn't have a drawer or doesn't have a handle on it, and this is where like a nightstand would sit. So this particular captain's bed has a particular left and right. So if yours has a panel, make sure that panel is up toward what will be the headboard, and then if it doesn't, it just has these drawers, then it's not going to matter. So I've got this arranged right. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, I've slid this captain's bed up near the headboard, and because this one has the panel up here, I'm just going to release these 4 screws right up here on this portion of this cover, and that will give me access so I can put those 45 millimeter furniture connectors between attaching the captain's bed to the headboard. So I'm just going to release this. And then once we open this up, now again, if yours has a drawer, you'll need to remove a drawer, and I'm going to go through that in a minute. If I just remove that, it will allow me to see inside here, and there's a couple of holes down here that these 45 millimeter connectors will go through, and they will align with the holes that are on this headboard right down here. So I'm just going to kind of align this. I can just see between the two here, and now I'm going to find that top hole right here, align that with the headboard, and then I'll thread that connector in. If yours doesn't have this panel up here and you have to remove a drawer to get to those same holes, if you extend the drawer all the way to the side of the drawer, you'll see that there's kind of a little trigger, kind of a little plastic trigger in the middle, and if you push that down and out of the way, it's down on one side and up on the other. So I'm just going to release that, and I'll pull that drawer right out of there, and then that will also give me access to the holes that I would need to attach the headboard. Now that I've got the 45 millimeter connector bolt started, from the same bag there is a 4 millimeter Allen wrench. I'm just going to reach in there and tighten those 2 connectors all the way up until they're snug. So I'll just reach down in here and just use that Allen wrench and tighten them up. Okay, now with the helper, we've got this all attached, and now what we're going to do is just kind of move it wherever we want to kind of get it positioned into the up against the wall. So we'll just kind of slide it forward until we're right up against the wall. And now the next step will be to remove, just like I had showed you how to remove that front drawer, I'm just going to remove this drawer so that I can attach the footboard. It's the same procedure, just kind of releasing those little glides and move that drawer right out of the way. And that will give me access to the holes that I'm going to need to attach the footboard. Okay, now what we're going to do is position the footboard up against this captain's bed. So I'm just going to kneel down here, and with my helper we'll just kind of slide this back. Again, I've removed this drawer so I can get these furniture connectors through the hole and into the corresponding hole in the footboard. So just going to kind of align that. And line those up. Okay, with my helper, we've been able to get everything lined up and get everything tightened up so the headboard and the footboard are connected to the captain's beds. Now I'm going to just go ahead and put these drawers back in, but I'll just show you really quickly so it's easy. You want to reach in here and just slide the telescoping portion of that glide out, and then take the drawer and just line that drawer up with the end of that, and then start to slide that in. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and that will kind of snap back in. And I'll do that on the drawers that I've removed. Okay, now I've stepped into the middle of these captain bed, and I'm just going to lift this TV lid open, and you'll find that there's a cord from a power strip, and I'm just going to go ahead and slip that down into that hole that's at the bottom of this cabinet. And I'll feed that through. And then I'm going to pull that out, and then I'll plug that into my outlet. Now, if your outlet's right here at the head of the bed, this extension will probably work. You may need an extension cord to get to a plug that's further away. So now we've got power to the headboard, or to the footboard, and now we'll continue on. Okay, now we're going to start working on the mechanism. So from that mechanism box, I've found the mechanism itself. There's a control box here. There's a power box, and then the cord that plugs into this power box. And then the hardware that I had discussed earlier in this video was this hardware for attaching some of these parts. And so what I'm going to find here is 8 of these 5/8" machine screws that are tapered. And then there is an 1 1/8" wood screw, and then a 5/8" wood screw. And that all comes from one bag. Okay, now I've stepped back into the middle of this captain's bed, and right down in here you'll see there's a panel that's been attached to the end of the footboard. And with that same 4mm Allen wrench, I'm just going to release the 2 small furniture connectors that are going to hold this panel in place. This is what we're going to connect the mechanism to. And now I'm just going to go ahead and lift that right out of the footboard. Okay, now we're going to install the standard mechanism onto this mechanism board, which will go into the footboard. So I've got the standard mechanism now, and this one measures about 24 inches. And you'll notice that there's a series of holes that you could attach this to. Down here, what I'm going to do for this particular mounting, I'm going to mount it in the second hole up from the bottom. So I'm just going to slide this mechanism over, and you'll notice that there are holes that line up. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount that in the second hole from the bottom. Typically that's where you would mount this mechanism. That allows the mechanism to come up high enough to clear the footboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these in. Of course, you can use a regular screwdriver here. You don't need a power driver. And now from the mechanism box, you will find a control box, which is this square control box with several inputs, and then a power supply, and then a bracket that holds the power supply, and then I found the power cord. And you'll notice that there's some holes over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this bracket right here. I'm going to get this power supply over here as close to the edge as I can. That gives good clearance for the mechanism. And then there's some half-inch wood screws that will just go into those pre-drilled holes, or those holes that are there. I'll just screw that down in. And now the control box, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the power, or the line that comes out, the short line that comes out of this power supply, and I'm going to plug it into the hole here on the side. And then I'm going to use those holes, those pre-drilled or pre-marked holes, and I'll thread that down into this mounting board as well on both sides. And now I'm going to take this cord that comes off the bottom of the mechanism, and I'm going to plug it into where it says motor HAL here on the bottom of this control box. And then you'll notice too there's a clip. That clip is going to be up, and that will just clip right in to this control box. And then the other end of the power supply that actually has the outlet for your home will be plugged in there. Okay, now the last step will be to hooking this up will be there's a wire that comes off the rocker switch on the footboard, and it too has a clip, and that's going to clip that's going to go right into the side, the last spot you can place a cord, and the clip is toward me or to the outside. I'm just going to clip that into place. Okay, now you may need some help with this. It can be a little bit heavy, but now I'm just going to take this mounting board with the mechanism and all of the electronics on there, and I'm going to lift that up and slide it down into, there's some brackets down there at the bottom, and it will just center that for you, and it'll sit right down centered. Now I'm going to take these short furniture connectors that we had removed while taking this mounting board off. Just put that right back into place using this 4mm Allen wrench, and I'll just tighten that down in place. Okay, the last thing that I've done is to plug in the mechanism, the outlet that goes into an outlet in the home, into the power supply or the power strip in this footboard. Now there's a rocker switch right here on the side of the footboard, and I'm just going to run that mechanism all the way up. Okay, from the mechanism box now I found this lid opener, holes, and it's kind of got a round or a bent end on it. Okay, now in the mechanism right here at the top there is a 4mm machine screw that's threaded in, and I'll go ahead and remove that. And I'm going to put this lid opener into this slot at the top. So now I've just got this, and there's many holes. I'm gonna, because of where I mounted the mechanism onto that board, I know that the maximum is 5 holes up. So I'm gonna mount that at the 5th hole up. So now I've got that right there in that 5th hole, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and thread that short little machine screw back into position to hold that. That will be as high as that lid opener can be positioned and still clear when the mechanism is down. Okay, most all late model TVs, especially those that are from the major manufacturers, they have a mounting pattern on the back of the TV that is, they're 200mm apart in all directions. Which is about almost 8 inches, just a little less than 8 inches. And as long as yours has this pattern, it will mount right to that mechanism. If it doesn't have that pattern, if it's an odd pattern, then there are some mounting bars that give you some other options for mounting to the TV and then to the lift mechanism. Also from the mounting, also from the hardware or from the mechanism box, you're going to find some hardware that has spacers and some different length and different diameter machine screws for the backs of TVs. But also most of the smaller TVs, up to 40, this one's a 43-inch TV, they have mounting hardware right from the factory, and I'm just going to use those. So, but if you need to use some other hardware, there is hardware that's available that came with the lift mechanism. So I'm just going to thread these right out and mount this TV right to that mechanism without having to use any of the other crossbars. Okay, now I've got my helper with the TV, and basically the TV cannot come higher than this lid opener. And so all I'm going to do is look at these openings here, or where the screw goes, and I'm going to kind of line that up with the highest hole that will allow it to be below this lift arm. Okay, so this is going to end up being in the third hole down. So now once we know that that's going to be in the third hole down, I'm going to prepare the hardware to install. Okay, now we've lined up that third hole, and I'm putting in the top one. And again, it's slightly below that opener. And I'll just go ahead and put all 4 of those screws into the openings. Okay, I've got it all installed. I'm going to go here to the rocker switch. There's also a little remote control that comes in the hardware box that you can use. We'll just go ahead and lower this. And because it's lower than that lifting arm there, I'm sure everything will clear, but we'll just go ahead and put that all the way down. If you need like a cable wire or a long USB, you can run it in this opening and then up into the bottom of this the footboard and hook everything up, and you should be ready to go. Now, as part of the captain's bed, there is a support that will go between the 2 captain's pedestals, and so you'll have a cut 2 of these flat support boards, and then 4 of these long legs that are threaded on one side. You'll notice that there's a barrel nut on one side and just a hole on the other. You want to thread it from just the hole side into that barrel nut and just tighten those down. Doesn't matter if they're straight or square. I'm just going to tighten that down so it's nice and tight. And I'll do this on both of them. So just and then this will sit right over the center of this captain's bed on the little ledge there. I'll push that right up flush with the end of the head end of those captain's bed pedestals, and then I'll do the same thing on the other one. All right, now all we need to do is put a mattress on this platform and we're ready to go. We hope that this video has helped with the assembly of this Wildwood TV lift bed, and we hope you enjoy this product.